Ancient Romans loved sports and theater. What they loved even more was the combination of the two, which was the brutal theater of gladiatorial games. That is most Romans. Emperor Tiberius, who ruled Rome in the early 1st century, banned the gladiatorial games for 20 years. He hated watching gladiators fight to death in Rome's Colosseum. But once Tiberius vacated his position and the ban on the game was lifted, the fun-loving Romans drove to the games in numbers to make up for the lost time. By AD 27, a new stadium was built in Fidenae, about 8 kilometers outside of Rome. This stadium, a wooden version of the Colosseum, could hold a massive crowd, and massive crowds it got. Records show, however accurate these records may be, being 2,000 years old, that up to 50,000 spectators crammed into the stadium on the opening day. Now, the crowd expecting to see life or death struggle to be played out in front of them, and life and death struggles they got, but just not in the stadium, but instead in the stands. The hastily built stadium, dangerously overloaded, collapsed, causing death of up to 20,000 people and numerous more injured in what is said to be the deadliest stadium disaster in all of history. Now, why were these games so popular, and why were Romans so eager to watch the games? The largest stadiums provided day-long entertainment with wild animals such as lions and hyenas imported from Africa, who fought other animals and gladiators. On top of that, the gladiators battled one another with a variety of weapons, much like MMA, these days with an added twist of life and death. And if the emperor was watching, the show could get even more exciting when just a gesture by the emperor could result in the life or death of your favorite sports hero. Anyone who has seen the Colosseum or any of the Roman ruins in any part of Italy or ancient Rome knows that Romans knew how to build things, and build things that lasted for a very long time. So what happened here? It seems that people were out to make a quick buck off of a dubious construction even in ancient times. A former slave turned entrepreneur named Attalus saw an opportunity to host gladiatorial games once Tiberius' ban was abolished, and he cashed in quickly by building a stadium as fast as he possibly could. The Colosseum and other monuments were built using stones and a mixture of concrete, giving them strength and durability. These items are expensive and time-consuming to work with, so in order to cut costs, Attalus used wood to build the Fidenae Stadium. Attalus also never worked out the numbers of spectators the stadium could safely hold, and worse still, the stadium had little to no foundation to support it. The cards were stacked against the stadium goers that were from all walks of life. The Roman writer Tacitus wrote that the population was starved for gladiatorial presentation and jumped at the opportunity as soon as it was available. Once inside the stadium, the attendees noted that the stadium swayed and heaved and then collapsed, killing people by the thousand. Nearly 2,000 years later, it is clear that the stadium was doomed from the beginning. Poor choice of materials, shoddy construction practices, poor planning, and no foundation are a recipe for disaster for any construction project, let alone a stadium responsible to hold thousands of people. The Roman Empire was a giant war-waging machine, and as part of wars, they were no strangers to death on a large scale, but even they were horrified by the destruction of Fidenae. The Senate responded by producing what we would now refer to as building regulations. Most importantly, the rules insisted that any new public building has to be constructed on firm ground with proper foundation. They also stipulated that anyone with a fortune of less than 400,000 sesterces, which is about 700,000 in today's money, will not be allowed to construct public buildings. This is to ensure that they do not run out of funds or cut corners while funding the construction of the building. This was one of the earliest accounts of a building code which laid foundation for any future building codes to continue.